The planet will be here for a long, long, long time after we're gone, and it will heal itself, it will cleanse itself, because that's what it does. It's a self-correcting system. The air and the water will recover, the earth will be renewed, and if it's true that plastic is not degradable, well, the planet will simply incorporate plastic into a new paradigm, the earth plus plastic. The earth doesn't share our prejudice towards plastic. Plastic came out of the earth. The earth probably sees plastic as just another one of its children. Could be the only reason the earth allowed us to be spawned from it in the first place. It wanted plastic for itself. Didn't know how to make it. Needed us. Could be the answer to our age-old philosophical question, why are we here? Plastic.
The late, great George Carlin on plastic, and we're going to spend the next segment of the Elias Macko Show discussing plastic. Now, it is everywhere, and we see it's in the oceans. It's in our food, microplastics, even in our bloodstreams. According to a recent study, it's costing the global economy $1.5 trillion a year in death and injury. How and why does this happen, and should we be doing anything differently when it comes to recycling plastic? Let's head over to Lauren McDougall, head of marketing at PlantSwitch. Lauren, welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me on.
So let's just put all the cards on the table for our listeners here. PlantSwitch, you are a global startup and you manufacture plant plastic alternatives, right? Made from rice, wheat, flax, and corn, those types of products here. So you got some skin in this game. Tell us about your thoughts on the plastic we're using and how we're treating it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we're all aware, especially that great George Carlin clip, how terrible plastic is for not only the environment but for our bodies, right? So I think with all these different studies coming out, we're really seeing the detriment that it's causing to us with the rapid use and just the amount that it's going to triple again by experts saying by 2060. So. I really think that looking for these alternatives is going to be a huge difference for us. And things like PlantSwitch will really make an impact on the plastic economy.
Yeah, and I know that is a big push, right? Like finding alternatives, because I read off the top, the plastic could be causing $1.5 trillion a year in cost to the economy on death and injury. But then I also love to juxtapose that with what would happen if I snapped my fingers and I eliminated plastic from the world. A whole lot of people would die, by the way, whether it's because food distribution, medical stuff, all that kind of stuff, right? So plastic is important. So what to you is the balance here? Where should we be heading long-term on plastic?
Sure, yeah. Plastics have undeniable value, right? They're for medicine, for technology. I think really the challenge is in those single-use items. So when we look at plastic bottles, food packaging, just disposable things that if you get from takeout, that are in everyday use, that plastic was never really meant to be a solution for. So if we, pivot back to using plastic for those things that it has inherent value for, and look for alternatives to replace plastic where it really was never meant to be, manufactured for high volume single use items, we'll see a huge difference over time.
I want to talk about recycling plastic. What are we learning about the impacts of recycling plastic? Because I'm seeing some stuff that's pretty worrisome, almost making me believe if we use it, we shouldn't recycle it. We should throw it out and put it into landfill. What can you tell us on that? What's the nasty truth of recycling plastic?
Well, I think the truly ugly truth on plastic recycling is that so much of it isn't recycled, right? So we're seeing that maybe 9% overall of plastic is actually recycled and reused, especially from virgin plastic. So there's a difference between recycled plastic and virgin plastic, right? So, these health studies that are coming out are just showing that there's so much damage that can happen to our bodies from recycling, just because it has so much potential to seep into our bloodstreams and cause damage over time.
Let me ask you about the alternatives here and what you're doing at PlantSwitch. Often this comes down to cost, right? There's another reason why plastic has been so successful and so pervasive. It is so efficient and cheap to use. So On the alternative front, I know we're always looking for alternatives, but it ends up to me being a paper straw that sucks. So tell me, right? So tell me about the alternatives here and how we get to a better product that is, as cheap or comparable to the cost of plastic.
Yeah, so that's our goal at PlantSwitch is to, find a solution to plastic that still performs the same way as plastic so that, the user feels like they're getting that same experience with, a fork or a straw, but not having the harm to the environment or our bodies, right? So what we do is we take upcycled agricultural waste. So as you had mentioned, we typically use rice husks. So kind of the outer shell of rice during the manufacturing process. And we essentially grind that down into a pellet and it can replace really any plastic product. So there's no plastic in PlantSwitch products, but it performs similarly to plastic. And it truly is a really great product to use when you can feel good about what you're using.
But at the end of the day, would it cost, like 10 times as much? What's your cost right now?
No, so we are actually the most cost-effective alternative to plastic. When you look at like bamboo or agave, all of these different alternatives that are coming out to plastic, we are the most cost-effective. It is still obviously very hard to compete with how cheap plastic is. But if we're looking at like fractions of cents, we would be about two times more than plastic versus, that 10 times more.
Oh, yeah. I mean, 2 times, it seems for a lot of business purposes is actually something that a consumer could eat that cost, relatively speaking. Lauren McDougall's with us, head of marketing at PlantSwitch, a plastics alternative company. So let me ask you, Lauren, once your product is used, what happens to it? Is it recycled in another way? Do you say, no, it should be going to landfill, compost? What do you do with your product?
Sure. So we are certified industrial compostable and home compostable. So what that means is really essentially where our product ends up, it will break down once it reaches a microbiome. So what's really neat about that is, a lot of questions that we'll get is, well, if I have a fork sitting on my shelf, is it going to, break down over time? And it's not going to break down until it reaches the microbiome. So it really needs those microorganisms to break it down and really create kind of like that perfect storm to decompose or biodegrade. So it works really well in a home compost. Worms tend to love it, but we have some great videos on our website that show our product breaking down compared to other brands as well, and how it really just disintegrates back into the earth.
Is it possible our listeners have already picked up a product at the store that's wrapped or contained in your type of plastic?
Yeah, we are in Walmart's nationwide in the Market Side brand salad bowls. So if you buy those for a lunch or dinner, they're kind of like a single serve salad bowl. All of our forks are in that line. So it's a great product, super affordable, great flavors. Would definitely suggest to try that out at Walmart.
Lauren, I wish your company so much success in defeating the paper straw and the wood fork. Those they must be defeated. Okay, it's enough to make you go back to plastic, the regular stuff.
I'm with you. Yeah, we're doing some great work on that.
You are. Lauren, be well. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Lauren McDougall, head of marketing over at PlantSwitch.